Hello guys, last lecture what we are studying is deadlock. We understood the concept of deadlock and how we can detect the deadlock and what will the consequences of a process arrangement or sequence which can lead to deadlock, right? And how an OS, what all the things OS can do against deadlock handling or deadlock avoidance, right? So in the last lecture, what we have understood are necessary conditions for the deadlock. That there are four necessary conditions which needs to hold simultaneously. Only we can say that the system is in deadlock, right? After that, we understood deadlock handling techniques, where we understood uh, how how we prevent deadlock, how we avoid deadlock, and detect and remove the deadlock. Right? There are three techniques how we can handle deadlock in the system. So, as we already discussed, that out of these three, we have discussed deadlock prevention techniques in detail, and today we will discuss the second second deadlock handling technique, which is deadlock avoidance, right? Avoidance Deadlock avoidance. So okay, let's start with deadlock avoidance. Bifurcate the screen so that you can know that this is the next point we have. Second, we have avoidance method, right? Avoidance method. So in the avoidance method, what we already discussed are that in this type of technique, what we are doing, we are simply trying to avoid the deadlock by some mechanism, right? By information sharing, right? So the basic assumption of the basic assumption of avoidance technique avoidance technique is simply, it is based on the method that uh, if we have advanced knowledge of what? Advanced knowledge of what? If we have advanced knowledge of resource requirement, resource requirement resource requirements of all running running process in the system, then we can design a system where we can use this advanced knowledge of resource requirement to develop a sequence of process execution, such that if we execute processes, let's say we have P1 to P5 process in the system, then what we are doing, we are simply using the advanced knowledge of resource requirement of all the processes. What it means, all the resource requirement of P1 to P5, what we will do, we will use this information and develop through some technique or some algorithm, we will develop, or we will we'll develop an algorithm which will result or which will give the output as a sequence of process, which if we follow this sequence of process execution, then we can be sure about that there will be no deadlock, right? Now you got the point that in the avoidance method what we are trying to do, right? So the assumption is simply if we somehow got the knowledge of all the resource requirement from start to end for a particular process, what all are the resources that particular process will require. If we have that knowledge in advance, then we can develop a sequence of processes which 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 could avoid or which could for avoid forthcoming deadlock in the system, right? So if we are having any sequence which could which which can make us sure about that there will be no deadlock, that means what we are doing, we are simply avoiding a deadlock to be happen, right, in the system. So I think this is the basic fundamental of bad deadlock avoidance method. It is being clear, right? So in other word, simply we write it, if we write it, let us write it. Uh, what we understood using above, we can say assumption is something like that. If requirement information, what is it? Information, requirement information, all resources required by a process throughout its lifetime throughout its lifetime is available. This is the same thing which we have discussed above, is available in advance. Then it is possible then it is possible to construct an algorithm that ensure that the system will never leads to deadlock, right? This is the same thing we have discussed above. So what it means, what we are doing by developing an algorithm, such an algorithm, we are simply, or this or we can say deadlock avoidance, we are avoiding deadlock, so that means deadlock avoidance algo dynamically 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 examines examines the resource allocation state to ensure that a circular weight condition circular weight condition can never exist. That means data governance algorithms, what it is doing, it is simply examining the resource allocation state to ensure the circular weight condition can never exist. What it means, it simply means you are breaking one of the condition, which is circular weight, so that you cannot get deadlock condition ever, right? So in the last class we have discussed all four conditions in detail, and how we can simply avoid circular weight in detail. For a detailed information, you can view my last video on deadlock part 2. So, to avoid deadlock, simply you are doing what? You are generating a sequence of processes, or we can say that that sequence of processes is called safe sequence, right? We will discuss it in this lecture ahead. So, we have used a term resource allocation state. So, resource allocation state, what it is? Resource allocation state is simply a function of sorry, number of available and number of allocated and number of maximum demand of an process. So resource allocation state will simply describe the number of available resources in the system and number of allocated resources in the system and maximum particular demand of a particular process, right? So it is a function of, or we can say resource allocation state is a function of these three things, right? So in general, what we are saying that we are maintaining the information about available बाबू आवाज कम कर दो number of available and number of allocated and the maximum demand of a process. We are making a record or track record of this by using resource allocation state. So in other word, we can say it is something like a data structure where we are simply managing this information. What all are these information? These are the resource allocation state table, right? And what it consists of, it consists of number of available, number of allocated resources and number of maximum demand of the process. So why we are doing that? We are simply doing that so that if a new process come to the system and ask for the any particular type of resource, then we will check the first we will check resource allocation state first, then only we can say we can allocate them, or we can block that particular process on the basis of this information given or uh, given or fetched by resource allocation state table, right? So this is very important, and we will discuss it again ahead when we are using an example to understand it, right? So So let us write requirement of deadlock avoidance. So that for deadlock avoidance, first requirement will be maximum max resource requirement must be stated in advance, right? Must be stated in advance. This is the first requirement of deadlock avoidance. It is but obvious because before for planning purpose you have to get all the information in advance, right? Before knowing the information in advance, you cannot plan anything, right? In the same way, if you want to use the deadlock avoidance algorithm, that means it will need the advanced knowledge of the resource requirement of any particular process, right? Every process, then only you can plan. Okay, so this is the first requirement for deadlock avoidance. Sorry. So second requirement is something like that. uh, Second requirement will be processes under consideration must be independent, because that means if they are independent, that means no synchronization required, no synchronization required, right? That means OS need not to worry about synchronization. So for generating a safe sequence, all the processes which are under consideration must be independent, because if they will be cooperating, that means they need synchronization, right? And if we are providing synchronization, that means we cannot generate a safe sequence, right? That's why the second requirement of deadlock avoidance is process should be independent, then only you can generate safe sequence, right? Then third requirement is there must be fixed number of resources to allocate. If there is unlimited number of resources to allocate, then this algorithm won't work, right? It will work only in the condition when you have a fixed number or definite number of resources to allocate, right? And fourth and last condition for deadlock avoidance, no process may exit till till it releases the resources it is holding, right? It is holding. But it means that a process cannot be terminated until and unless it has released all the resources it has held with it, right? So before exiting, process must release all the resources it has holding till that time, right? So these are the four basic conditions for deadlock avoidance, and what they are doing, or what this algorithm with this avoidance algorithm will do. It is simply basically this algorithm avoidance algorithm will check that after after allocating resources will will the system be in safe state or not. It is simply checking that if we allocate all the resources demanded by the processes in the system, will the after allocation, will the system is in a safe state, or the system is in deadlock state, right? So simply this avoidance algorithm will check this, right? So what it means to a system to be in safe state, what it means that it is not in deadlock state, or we can say or we can say or we can say a system is in safe state only if there exists a safe sequence. There exists a safe sequence, right? If there exists a safe sequence, then only we can say that the system is in safe state. Now, what is safe sequence? So before knowing to the safe state, you must know that what is safe sequence, right? So safe sequence can be described such that we can say, let us say we have process P1 to P5, that means there are 5 processes, right? So if there P1 P2 dot Pn is safe sequence, if safe sequence if for each pi for if for each pi the resource that pi pi can pi can still request can be satisfied satisfied by number of currently available resources plus resources held by all the the PJs, PJs, where, where J is less than I. Right, the safe sequence P1 to Pn will be the safe sequence if for each Pi the resources that Pi can still request can be satisfied by number of currently available resources in the system plus the resources held by rest of all the processes in the system. That means if the resource requirement by the process Pi is not under the summation or under this condition, that means if the system has total 10 instances of resource type R1, and if a new process, or let's say Pi simply demanded 11 instances, that means it cannot be granted. For granting a resource or instances of resources to a Pi, it must be less than maximum instances of that particular resource type, right? So this is the same thing which is written over here, right? And if this sequence is satisfying this requirement, then only we can say that if there is exist a sequence of processes, a safe sequence of processes, then only we can say that the system is in safe state. Otherwise the system will be in deadlock state, right? Because if you accept that particular demand of that particular resources which are demanded by a Pi, and which is greater than the total number of resources available in the system, that means definitely your system will stuck into the deadlock condition, right? So what it directly means, if we have safe sequence, that means we have no deadlock. That means if our system has safe sequence, it directly means that system is in safe state, and it directly means no deadlock, right? No deadlock. And if not, if there exists no safe sequence, what it means, unsafe state, unsafe state, then we can say that there or may not be deadlock. We cannot guarantee that. That if there is a no safe sequence, then there will be deadlock always. But we can say that there may be the chance that the system will be in deadlock, right? Our avoidance techniques or avoidance method is simply based on the resource requirement of a particular process, and as well as is the existence of safe sequence, right? So let us understand now, these all is simply a basic assumption of avoidance method, and what it needs and how it happens, and what we will do, we will simply find a safe sequence, right? So that means for avoiding a deadlock, we have the algorithm called Banker's algorithm. Banker's algorithm, which will deal multi multiple instance problem, or we can say Banker's algorithm. When we will use Banker's algorithm, when we have multiple instances of a resource type in the system. That means, let us say we have a resource type A, B, C. That means there are three types of resources in the system which could be allocated to any requesting resource of any requesting process. And if we have 10 instances of A, 5 instances of B type, and 7 instances of C type, that means we have multiple instances of same resource type in the system. Then we will use Banker's algorithm for resource avoidance, deadlock avoidance purpose, right? But if we have only one second case, in this case we have Banker. But for the second case, when we have only one resource instance of A, only one instance of B, only one instance of C, that means we need not to worry about the management of the instances of same resource type. That means we can use RAG here, right? So we will break any loop if we found in the system. That means we can use RAG here. So let us discuss Banker's algorithm first. So Banker's algorithm, as the name suggests, it simply work or it is based on the working culture of banks, or working culture of banks. See, bank, if let us say see the example. If you have uh, 5,000 rupees balance in your bank account, your bank account, right? Now what will happen if first case, if you demand 3,000 from your account, what it will do? And let us say second case, if you demand 6,000 from your account. So see the first case, if you demand 3,000 rupees from your account from the bank, simply bank will check your balance, and if your demanded money is less than total balance available in your account, then it will grant your require 3,000 for you, right? That means it will grant it. Now come to the second case, where you are demanding 6,000, but in your account you have only 5,000. That means 6,000 is greater than your balance. So in this case, bank will not grant you any money. Why is it so? Because it is checking its resources, right? First it is checking your account resource. If they are available, then only it will grant, right? So in the same way how the banking system is doing, in the same way our this Banker algorithm is doing, right? Whenever a request of any resource come to the system come to system, OS will OS check for availability, right? First check for availability, and if resource available, then grant, else block or wait, or make the requesting process wait, right? So what you have understood, we have understood simply that as a banking system, works in the same way our banker's algorithm will work, right? So our banker's algorithm simply it will use two algorithm. It is actually a combination of banker's algorithm uses, or it is a combination of two algorithm. One is safety algorithm, and second one is resource request algorithm, right? So before going to these two algorithms, see, safety algorithm will generate a safe sequence for the generate a safe sequence, or it is used to generate a safe sequence, or to check for safe sequence. It will do two tasks. Either if there is exists a safe sequence, then it will generate a safe sequence, and else it will check for safe sequence, right? It will do these two things. And after applying safety algorithm only, we can use resource request algorithm, which will show us. It is used for the purpose that if if any time a new request come to the system, then what will happen, that request will be granted or not. If then what this algorithm will do, it will first assume that if we allocate those many resources to the requesting process. After allocation, it will check again for safe sequence. If after allocation the state of the system is safe, or we are getting safe sequence after allocation, then only then that means we can grant those requests. Otherwise we will block that request of particular demanding process, right? So this is the combination of two algorithm. Banker's algorithm is combined form of two algorithm, which is safety algorithm and resource request algorithm, right? So before going to the detail of these two algorithm, first we need to understand common data structures we will these algorithm will use, right? So let us first understand common data structure used in these algorithm, right? So the common data structure, where first one is n. N is the variable which is used to signify the number of process in the system. We will represent the total number of processes in the system by n, right? Next we will use m. It is a variable which will show the number of resource types in the system. So these are the basic data structures or variables we are using, these algorithms are using. Now come to the first data structure. Our first data structure will be available. right? It will be a vector of length m, and m is number of resource types, right? So it is the vector of number of resources, right? And what it will simply indicate number of available resources of each type, right? It will be vector of length m, number resources, and indicate the number of available resources in the system. So how can we write them? Let us understand. Available j equals to k. It will simply means that there are k instances of resource type rj available in the system. Available in the system. Now you understood. If we have written this, then what it means? It simply means there are k instances of resource type rj, right? Resource type rj available in the system currently, right? Next data structure we this algorithm will use is max, which will be a matrix of strength n into m, right? It will be a matrix, right? It is not vector, it is a matrix of n into m, n by m, right? Where n is number of processes and m is number of resources, right? And it defines maximum demand of each process, right? So let us understand. If we have written max I comma j equals to k, what it means that simply the k instances of resource type rj is the maximum demand of process pi, right? Or if you have confused, let us write it in words. Process pi, see, first index pi, process pi may request at most k instances of resource type rj. See, this is matrix, that's why it has two indexes, right? So max will define the maximum need or maximum demand of a particular process. Third one will have third one will have allocation. Allocation. It is also a matrix of n into m, right? And defines number of resources resources of each type currently allocated to each process, right? It will simply define the number of resources of each type currently allocated to the processes, currently available processes in the system, right? So for if for P1 it is showing ABC, for P1 it is showing 2 5 3 4, let us say. What it means, it is simply means that process Pi has been allocated I by by 5 instances of A type, 3 instances of B type, and 4 instances of C type. That means it is currently holding these instances, these many instances of different types, right? So example, if we have written a location I j, it simply means equals to k. It simply means that k instances of resource type Rj has been already allocated to process Pi. K instances of resources Rj, k instances of resources Rj has been allocated to process Pi, as we did in the previous case, right? Now last data structure these algorithm will be need, right? So it will be a matrix of n into m, where n is number of process and m is number of resource type, right? And it will simply indicate this matrix will simply indicate remaining resource, as the name suggests, resource need of each process in the system. What it simply means that it has demanded maximum of 10. Let us say P1 has a demand of 10 instances of resource type A, and currently it is having 6 instances of A. Then what will be the need? What the need will show? It will need, or the need of that particular process will be 4 instances of particular resource, of that resource, right? So let us check. If we write need ij equals to k, what it means that process Pi is needing k instances of resource Rj, right? And we can calculate need. If we don't have need matrix, we can calculate it by ourselves. How? Simply using this need ij will be equals to maximum demand of that process minus allocation of ij, right? Obviously, as we define here, that if pi has the demand of 10 instances, maximum demand of 10 instances, we'll have the maximum demand of 10 instances of resource type A, and for the time being it has acquired 6 instances. That means the need will be this minus this. The answer will be the need, right? So this is written the same. We can calculate need by this formula, right? It is obvious, right? So these all are the data structure the banker algorithm will use, and we will define it. And I think you got it very well. So that's all for the day. Thank you.